and thanks for being with us for the Teaching Fellows Institute's fall programming of 2024. It's great to have you here, and we're here with Terrie Reeves, and she's going to be speaking on time management. And Terrie has been working with TFI since 2020, and we're just so great that this relationship has lasted for such an extended period, and look forward to it going far into the future. Terrie Reeves is a social scientist and founder of Empower Health America, a results-based consulting firm. As a consultant and practitioner, Terrie uses her experience and evidence-based approaches to empower individuals, teams, and organizations to achieve their best outcomes through organizational change. She works with public, private, and nonprofit organizations. Terrie has worked in a myriad of industries: healthcare, publishing, professional sports, manufacturing, financial, broadcasting, architecture, real estate, and nonprofits, to highlight a few. She has 25 plus years of experience in talent development, strategic planning, business development, and marketing, and has led innovation and product launch teams. In her career as a leader, she has helped organizations accelerate change, increase individual and team effectiveness, and improve outcomes. And with that, we welcome Terrie to TFI this evening. Thank you, Terrie.
You're so welcome. You really do have, like, that's my real bio. Though it's not, I'm like, wow, I sound kind of like I'm smart. But y'all, it's life experience, and I have lived a long life. And I always say, I drag everything forward so that I can share it with people, and that brings me great joy. And I think the net is that I have been working with people and organizations in behavioral change for years, and I'm really passionate about what I do. And I try to make things practical, because when you get all up in your head space and start thinking about theory and research and all the data, it's sort of like, okay, tell me how to land the plane, make this real for me. And that's what I hope to be able to do today. And time is a precious commodity, and I'd love to just start by saying thank you for sharing your time and energy with me today, or this evening with me, because we can't buy more of it. So it really is. And we'll be talking a lot about that tonight. We're a small group, so I might actually invite some exchange earlier. And Barbara, I don't know in terms of the recording if you would want to stop when we're exchanging, but I'll certainly, cue the group and we can unmute. And, with a smaller group, we can make this more of a dialogue rather than a monologue, which I think will make it a lot more fun. And let's see, what else can I tell you? I love animals. I love yoga. I love ballroom dancing, and I absolutely love doing this work that I get to do right now. So, does that sound good? Are we ready to blast off? All right. So I often start off by saying this is not a spectator sport. So my hope is that you really will get engaged. And I'm going to share my slide deck, but I'm going to move us back and forth in and out of it, because I like the view where I get to see your expression and your faces. It's a lot more fun. And I like to interact so that you get a chance to hear your own voice and each other's voices. And that just makes this entire thing so much more powerful. So managing time so it doesn't manage you. And often we get up in the morning and we have a to-do list, and all of a sudden we hit the ground running, and it's playing catch up all day long. So how can we flip the script, reframe our relationship with time, govern it better, be more mindful so that time really works in our favor? The 5P change model is going to give us framework for the structure of the session tonight. We're going to pause, and that's what you're already all doing, and I'm grateful. I'm going to ask some powerful questions. I'm going to ask you to process some things, and my true desire, and if it's something that you are interested in, is to take the information and go, wow, okay, what could I apply? What could I adapt? How can I start to create a plan? And then what am I going to do to pursue action in order to work that plan? Now, I always have these arrows, and I go, okay, so I can help us pause, because we're already doing that, and we can process together, which we will do. We will probably do a little bit of planning together, but the pursue and taking action will be up to you. But I do hope at the end of the presentation, there is an intrinsic motivation. There's something that really resonates for you tonight, that you're like, you know what, I can do that. These one or two things, and I think they'll have a big impact on reclaiming, my time and energy. And I'm going to start off with something experiential right out of the gate. And if you've been around me at all in some of the other sessions I've done. And if you were at the retreat, we often start like this. It will be 2 minutes and it will hopefully get us grounded and settled. And this will come back into play as it relates to time management and energy management. So I'm going to ask everybody just to close your eyes, uncross your legs, and feel the earth underneath you. Feel your chair. If you're not comfortable with your eyes closed, you can just cast your eyes down and just place your hands in your lap or beside you, finding a comfortable position so that you can begin to breathe with ease. So the encouragement is to take a deep breath in through the nose, slowly exhale, let it go. And just feel the breath traveling in and through the nose into the chest, and try to push the breath into the belly. And we're just bringing some focused attention to breathing so that that can be an anchor that helps to make us a bit more conscious and aware in this moment. And as you're breathing, perhaps there's an awareness of your energy. Thoughts may be popping up, which is very normal. The intention is just to bring awareness to the breath, bring awareness to the body, and just feel a sense of ease. Often we will transition into a Zoom call or into a meeting and we've been rushing. And this grounding exercise just allows us to fully land the plane, to check in, to notice what's going on. And just stay with breath, inhaling and exhaling. And just know that it only takes 2 minutes of breathing to bring us into a place of focus, calm, allows us to begin to let go of distractions, creating more awareness in the moment. Just breathing in and softly letting that exhale release. And just take 5 more deep breaths, just noticing how the breath is moving through the body, how it is affecting maybe your level of awareness. Every exhale triggers the relaxation response, dropping us deeper into our bodies, allowing us to connect more deeply to sensation, the language of the body. Our heart is a muscle, the most important muscle in our body. And noticing maybe how you're feeling. Take one more collective deep breath. Inhale. Let it go. Exhale. And just when you're ready, just open your eyes. Maybe look around, feeling a bit more settled. Sometimes people feel maybe even more alert and aware of things that are on their mind. But the intention is to bring us into the present moment. And it does help to calm the mind, this deep breathing. And we were only in this space for 2 minutes. It does some incredible things. It allows us to be more connected to how we're feeling. It cranks up our ability to be open, more creative, more focused, and more productive. And we're thinking about time and energy. If we are more awake and aware, and we can become more focused and we can use time more wisely, then we begin to multiply our ability to be productive. So this exercise can be really great if you're scattered or you need to get hyper focused because you need to start a project and you need to stay in flow. So this will come in handy, and we'll talk about it a little bit more as we push deeper into the presentation. But maybe a show of hands, if you don't mind, because I can see, I'll scroll up and down. Do you feel a little bit more grounded and relaxed? If you do, maybe just a show of hands, because I can see that you don't even have to do an emoji. Yeah. And some of you have your computers off, which is way okay. If I can entice you to turn them on, that would make me happy because I can see your smiling face, but I completely understand. So I did see a lot of hands raised, and it's powerful and it doesn't take any time or energy to pause for 2 minutes. Very little investment and a tremendous benefit. So gaining awareness, what are we going to do today? Examine what is impacting your time, your energy, your performance, and I kind of think sometimes your sanity. If you've ever been running around chasing a deadline or trying to whittle down a to-do list that keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it just seems like you can't chase time fast enough to get everything done, it can kind of make you crazy. So learning strategies to better manage time, and that's where we're going to try to land the plane tonight. How can I manage time better? Identify what you want to work on and why, and beginning to sort of architect a plan. What might I want to take action in, and what would that plan look like? So awareness, and that's what we're doing tonight. The very first step is just to notice what is robbing your time, what's robbing your energy, what's slowing you down, what's affecting productivity. And in that awareness, we make the unconscious conscious. And it's only until we can name something and claim it that we can really do something about it. So curiosity and discovery, often this thing called self-awareness, what we see on the surface is not everything that's really going on. There's a lot more under the iceberg. So I would like for us to get a little curious. These questions, and I will bring us out because I think this would be something powerful to kind of unpack for maybe 5 minutes together, because these are the first steps of kind of recognizing how time is managing you and your energy and your ability to be productive. Is how well do you manage your time and energy? And then what impacts your time, energy, and productivity? And just for a second, think about that. What is robbing you of time? What's hijacking your energy? What is impacting your productivity? And I think in understanding that, then we can go, okay, if these are the things that are the barriers that are impacting us, then what can we begin to do about the barriers in terms of techniques and strategies? So hopefully that makes sense. Take a quick look at this so you don't forget, because I'm going to ask you to unpack what impacts your time, energy, and productivity. And maybe 2 or 3 of you will share and maybe give an example. And then we'll push back in, but I would love to hear your voices in the room. So how well do you feel that you manage your time and energy? So I'm going to ask this in a 1 to 5 scale. 1 means I feel like it's not well developed and I really need to work on it. And 5 means I am a rock star and I'm doing extremely well. So of the people that I can see your faces and you're lit up, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can I see some hands answering that question? Got some, oh Lord, okay. I got some 4s and some 4s and some 1s and some 3s. And then folks that aren't on screen, maybe type it in the chat. Would you mind doing that? And I see some folks are typing it in there, which is good, which is really great. And I'm seeing some, okay, somebody said a 1. All right. So we're kind of all over the map. And sometimes it depends on the day, right? Sometimes it depends on the circumstances. Life comes at us and we can't predict. We certainly cannot control the uncontrollables. So I think the thing about inventory is we might answer it tonight a 5 or a 1, and next week we might be a 3. So staying in tune with how we're feeling and what we're doing and how we're using our time and energy helps us, I think, be better aware of how we can govern it and really capture it and be more efficient with it. So if I can get some brave voices, and you could pick what impacts your time, your energy, or productivity. You don't have to answer all 3 of them, just the one that speaks to you, because I just want to get some examples. So I would beckon someone to unmute themselves and maybe answer one of those time, energy, or productivity questions.
Okay, I'll go. I rated myself a number 1, only because I don't know how to say no. And that causes a lot of, so I'm in my own way, right? Because if I could just say no, then I wouldn't be stressed all the time.
Yes, great thing to share. And I bet you're not alone, Terrie. I myself, I'm a fawner, people pleaser. I kind of want to make sure everybody's taken care of. And sometimes that means I say yes too much, right? Yeah. Leanne, how about you? Sounds like you've have something to say.
Yeah, I unmuted because I was going to second everything that Terrie just said. that seems to be my biggest hurdle, is having time blocked on my calendar to do certain things that I know I need to get done. And then being asked to help others solve a problem that they're dealing with. And then my time block is completely gone. So the good news is that kind of helps me build my energy up versus takes it away, but my time and my own productivity then are hit.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to talk a lot about deposits and withdrawals in the form of energy. So that's very relevant. Leanne, anybody else want to share before I push us back into the PowerPoint?
Terry, I just had a real quick question.
Yeah.
Is it, I guess it is it possible, because I have the energy to do all of these things, but then my time for like me is gone? So is it possible to be energized to do all these things and then just I get pushed on the back burner?
You know, so energy is something that's renewable, but if we're not practicing self-care, we won't keep our energy level up to do all the things that energize us. Like it's like almost just because you can doesn't mean you should, and too much of a good thing. Like especially stuff where you're being productive and you're working to, achieve a goal. The self-care piece is so important in that equation. If anything, it probably is actually to mask on me first. So then I can go forth and conquer and have more energy. And it doesn't have to be an hour. I think sometimes we think, oh, I need to work out for an hour. I need to take a 30-minute walk. Sometimes just 2 minutes. Sometimes just a 10-minute walk or chat with a friend or pause for 2 minutes and just breathe. And we'll get into some techniques, but yes, it's possible. And I think the awareness is key, right? And you're clearly aware of that. And so now some of these techniques might actually help you achieve that self-care piece for sure. For sure. Very cool. All right. I'm going to push us back into, where's my little share button? Here we go. To screen 2, to share. And here we go. All right. I'm going to move us fast through some of this stuff that I want us to just have a high level understanding, because I want to bring us out so we can actually talk about it. So bear with me as we kind of move through these slides. This is a simple concept, and I'm into taking complex dynamics issues and making them simple. So if we think about our day, we have a finite amount of time. Our energy really depends on self-care, what we've done the day before, the week before, our level of stress, how we're spending time in recovery, how we're depositing energy back in, sort of how we're managing that. So that is a renewable resource, especially if we are doing things to, say, put back more deposits than we are withdrawals. And then the intentionality is looking at the day and going, here is my day, and it's governed by time and energy. How am I going to intentionally spend it? And that does take some architecture. It takes reflection. It takes stepping back and going to the balcony and kind of looking at your life and then going, okay, how do I put this together with greater intention, rather than just doing a to-do list, check, 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 actually having more methodology and more intention and more strategy around it. And then of course, the outcomes that you're trying to achieve, maybe more energy back, more time to tackle big projects, whatever the outcomes are. If the first 3 things are done, it will absolutely have a positive effect on outcomes. Time is finite. To reinforce that, energy is renewable. So using both of them wisely and making sure that they align with the things that you are trying to accomplish. I love pictures because I think they're worth 1,000 words, and you probably can identify with these 2 folks. When I have days that I'm in flow, and I'm not necessarily doing everything I love, because that's not possible, but I'm in the flow, I'm in the zone, and you hear that a lot. Athletes refer to being in the zone or flow, where I am getting things accomplished. There's less interruptions. I'm checking my to-do stuff off. I'm getting big projects tackled. I'm practicing self-care. I'm pacing my work. I'm pausing to celebrate victories. I'm collaborating with coworkers. I'm feeling productive, and I feel like I'm using time wisely. It's not getting sucked away by people interrupting me. It's not being impacted by, my computer dinging me and all the notices coming up. I am in flow because I set healthy boundaries and I shut my door. Like all the things that we can, small things that we can do, but really make a difference. On the other side is someone that's stressed, that is not practicing self-care, is not pacing themselves, is not practicing, good time awareness and good project management, because our days are really one project after the next. And if we are depleting ourselves and constantly giving and giving and giving and doing things that are stressful, we are going to be running on empty. And that's sort of a vicious cycle. Once you've hit empty, it's really hard, no matter how passionate you are about something, to have the motivation to do it. Because I know we all know self-care is an important part of our human experience. But if we've done things all day long that have depleted us and not paced it and interspersed some fun things in there that recharge us, by the end of the day, we're emotionally, physically, intellectually exhausted. And, that can create bankruptcy. That's in essence the analogy, is we can really become bankrupt. So when we feel stressed, overwhelmed, out of balance, all the things that sometimes when time is just bearing down on us and our to-do list is ever present and we just can't seem to catch up, it can create fatigue. Obviously, it can create an inability to focus or to concentrate. It affects productivity. We lose our ability to govern wisely our time and energy, because when we're stressed, we're not thinking really well. We're sort of in survival mode. When we're out of balance, we're not really able to pull back and go, okay, let me take a look at what's going on so I can, think about it from a place of true intention, because your cortisol goes up, adrenaline's cranking. It makes it very, very difficult to have logical thought and to kind of get out of your own way. So it's not a great state to be in. When we're energized and we're in flow, when we're doing projects we like, and maybe even a project that's difficult, but we're not doing 9 difficult projects back to back. We sandwich it in, and it's a difficult project, but we're renewed and energized, and we know when it's finished, it's going to bring us joy because we've created something really important. So what's happening in those cases is we're creating hormonal exchanges in our bodies with dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, all these endorphins are happening. And these are chemicals that are happening in the body. They're being produced, which makes us happy. It makes us feel energized, and it can put us in a flow state. It is impossible to be in flow, highly productive state, right, if these are not being produced in the body. So flow state, and kind of taking you to a higher level, and then we're going to go granular, is deep focused concentration, the immersion in a task. And you probably all can think about something where you, like, time just flew and you were working on that project for an hour and a half, but you were in flow. And how long does it take to get into flow? 10 to 20 minutes. I mean, if you can think about when you start a big project, you almost need to clean your desk, get all the little 1 to 2 minute tasks that don't take long, just get them, out of your brain, come into a mental space where you're breathing, get rid of distractions as best you can. And it might be grading papers, right? The things that you do that really take being in a position where you can manage your energy and time and stay focused. So we're interrupted 50 to 60 times a day. That's every 3 to 5 minutes. So if we didn't govern who knocks on our door, we didn't set boundaries, we didn't say no, we didn't create a space where we could actually get into flow, then every time we're disrupted, it takes 25 minutes to recover back to that flow state. So I think this is really relevant because it's not so much just time, but it's the impact of time. So if we're working on a complex project and we're in flow and we get distracted and we have to come back to get in flow again, and if you've noticed that when you've been interrupted, it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm solving this math problem from the beginning again. I got to get my mind focused. I've got to go back through the steps to figure out where I was. Got to think holistically about the outcome of the project. Where am I in this? So I think I'm probably preaching to the choir, but flow state's good. And these interruptions are real. So protecting your time and creating a conducive space is mission critical. 25 minutes of focused time, 5-minute breaks. And this is called the Pomodoro technique. And I challenge the Pomodoro technique, and research is sort of supportive, and it's not so much an either or, it's a both and. Other people that I can see, has anybody heard of the Pomodoro technique? You have? Okay. Yeah. I figure a lot of teachers are aware of this type of stuff. So how can I block time? Work for 25 minutes and then literally unplug for 5, recharge, come back. So this flow state challenges this in the fact that we can stay in a deep state of concentration for 90 minutes to an hour to 120 minutes. It takes time and energy and effort, but it's possible. But we have to work on our ability to stay focused. It's not like one's better and one's worse. They're both really good. It depends on the project, the circumstances, your energy level, your ability to stay focused, right? How well have you trained your brain? How well have you created the circumstance and environment around you to allow you to stay in that flow state? And she looks like she's in flow state. So this focused attention, because I like to kind of demystify what takes us out of flow, is if we're focused on a project and then we get distracted by a thought, it takes us out of flow. And then to get back into flow, we have to be aware that we were distracted. And then we have to bring our attention back to the task that we were working on. So just cultivating a level of awareness, because this cycle happens whether your phone rings or a coworker comes in or a ding happens on your cell phone. It happens in our own brains. So clearly, let's try to control the controllables. Let's turn the notifications off. Let's shut the door and let folks know that you need focused time and why, and ask them to support you. And then you've set yourself up for success. But this still happens in our own brains. And so if we can just become more aware of when it's happening, gently and kindly encourage yourself to come back to breath, because that's a great anchor. How might I be aware that I just got distracted? Like squirrel, rabbit, where is it? Okay, everybody's brain changes focus about every 12 seconds. So we're human. So without judgment, how do I come back to focus? So this is a trainable, it's actually a neuroscience-based training. And all it requires is just you to be aware of when you're distracted. Come back to breath, back to focus. And it goes around and around and around. The more you practice it like a muscle, the longer you can hold focus. It's kind of cool. So tips: conducive environment, minimize distractions, set boundaries, and time yourself. That's a really easy way to say, okay, I'm going to stay in flow for 30 minutes or an hour, and set a timer. And that keeps you from having to check your little distracting square. So macro view of time management, and then we're going to get into the weeds. Take inventory of time and energy. Align and prioritize time and focus, design days, goals, plans, schedules, tasks, manage and monitor your time and energy, and establish expectations and boundaries. So practical skills is where we're going to land for about probably 15 minutes. And I might pull us out a little bit. I'm just going to watch the time myself. But if we look at the Eisenhower method, and I'm leading with the Eisenhower method because I think it's the most effective one of all. If you had to leave with one in your toolkit, this would be the one I'd recommend. How many of you use the Eisenhower method? I've got one person raising their hand, 2 people. Let me see if I can scroll down. How about the folks that aren't on camera? If you will type in the chat, I would just appreciate just getting a sense of what y'all are thinking as it relates to the Eisenhower. Okay, awesome. Okay, so to demystify it for the folks that aren't using it, and to reinforce, because sometimes it's important to reinforce how great a tool is, and it takes practice and it takes commitment to using the tool for it to be effective, is getting up in the morning, looking at your day and going, okay, what is urgent and important that I need to do today? What can I do later? Because often the things on the to-do list can be moved to next week. Deadlines can be renegotiated. There's not so much time in a day. So being realistic with expectations. What can I delegate? Often, sometimes this mantra is, I'm just going to do it myself. It's easier to do it myself than to delegate. Maybe sometimes that's true, but long term, the the teaching someone else how to do it is time consuming on the front end, but it could be a great energy and time saver on the back end. So don't underestimate the power of delegation and really looking at what you're doing on a daily basis and what could be something you could delegate, even if you have to train somebody. And then I love this one, eliminate, flush it, delete it. It's not important. Don't even deal with it. And then all of a sudden, all those tiny things that are so unimportant, you can let them go, or you can move them to next year or move them to next month. So your daily awareness around time, energy, focus, and alignment, because we kind of know what we've got to get accomplished at the end of the day. And that's where the outcome is. Like, what do I need to get accomplished? Is my time and energy and my focus, like where I'm spending it, in alignment with the outcomes that I have to achieve? Sometimes these are things that we have to get things graded. There are projects that are due. There's some things that are negotiable, but there's some things that aren't. And the thing that we often sacrifice is our own self-care and that me time. And so we can't relegate ourselves to the lowest common denominator at the bottom of the to-do list. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just encouraging you to think about that, because I think busy people get a lot of stuff done, but often the most important project that is delegated to later or not done at all is our own health. 3 slides. And you'll get a copy of this. You'll get some handouts that'll give you more explicit information, but I just want to touch on there's about maybe 18 key things. Establish realistic expectations. The thing that is most readily not taken into consideration is we underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to get things done. We cannot plan enough buffer time. So if we're going back to back to back to back to back with meetings, we're going to be exhausted. So buffer time is just not time between projects. It's also time for you to take a moment so that you can recharge. So creating some space, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, it can be really powerful. And Zoom has made it crazier, because I see people that go literally from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. I'm like, OMG, by the end of the day, your tank is empty. You wanted to work out or spend time with your kids or finish a big project at home, and there's like no energy left. So yeah, what's realistic and sustainable? Set achievable goals. Often I think there is this thought of, I need to get it all done now. And those are often self-imposed deadlines or self-imposed expectations. What's really realistic to do in a given amount of time, in the fact that that's not the only thing you're going to be doing that day, right? So what can you truly do, and break it down in small pieces? And it does something good for the brain too, because when you have a big project and you break it down, every time you hit a milestone, you get a dopamine hit. It's a reinforcement of you're accomplishing something. It will make you happy, and it fuels energy to keep moving you forward in the project. Celebrate progress. I think sometimes we step right on over it. It's like, woohoo, we finished the project, next. And that doesn't give the body a moment to celebrate, which does impact dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all the things that we were just looking at in terms of endorphins and things that happen in the body that keep us energized. Time blocking is a very popular form of literally pulling out your day timer, and it may be in your phone, it may be old school, but looking at your day and blocking time, and not just blocking time for the sake of getting things done. It's taking a look at, when do you have a lot of energy? When are you going to be able to create more of a flow space where you're not going to be interrupted? When can you schedule things that are routinely done at the same time every day? Because the brain does really like routine. So it's really strategizing and making sure that you have scheduled time for self-care. So time blocking is not just for the projects you want to accomplish or the tasks that you need to create to achieve, but also, what are you doing to feed yourself? What are you doing to unplug throughout the day so that you can come back and keep working on these harder projects? Peak energy periods. We do have sort of a circadian rhythm. We all are different. you know yourself better. And if you haven't really paid attention to that, sometimes it's nice to do an energy flow chart for yourself and go, okay, when does it seem like I have the highest amount of energy to stay focused? Is that in the morning? You know, when can I schedule tasks that are better aligned with my energy? So just something to think about. Automate and delegate, frees up time. What can you automate? Technology is wonderful and it can help us, and it certainly can help us automate. If there are templates, there are things that you could plug into a program. If you're not IT savvy, talk to somebody younger or someone that's in IT that can help you leverage technology, because you can get a lot of time back, a lot of time back. Active breaks every 90 to 120 minutes is encouraged. If you're not doing the Pomodoro every 25, take a 5 minute, this 90 to 120, because that's maximum flow state, right? But we are encouraged to take a break, even if it's just 2 minutes. Technology distractions, turning off notifications. A notification going off when you're in flow state will hijack flow. And if you remember, it'll take 25 minutes to get back to that hyper state of flow that you were in. So why would you do that to yourself? So the ability to proactively turn off notifications, turn off your cell phone, use the focus mode, all those are really good things that you can do. They're simple things, but you just have to be due diligent and do them. The 2 minute rule, I call this clear the clutter. If there are, say, 15 little ticky tacky things that are on your to-do list that will take you, you know, just call it 1 to 5 minutes, right? I mean, it's called the 2 minute rule, but I can get a hit of dopamine. I can get something accomplished. I can check it off my to-do list and I have some victories to celebrate. And you pick a few of those to do at the very beginning of the day, and all of a sudden they're out of your brain. They have created some level of calm because you've completed something. There's a victory. So energy is being deposited now. And then you can move into the really bigger tasks. And this MIT method is focusing on 2 or 3, like when you get up and you go to work and go, okay, what are the 2 to 3 like long-term goals or really high priority things? So getting clarity, because sometimes if everything's important, nothing's important. So really discerning, going back to the Eisenhower, what's urgent and important, what can be done later, what can be delegated, and what can be deleted. And that will help you get really granular on, okay, these are the 2 projects that I really need to focus on today. One might give you joy and give you energy, and the other one might wear you out. So where do you put those 2 tasks or projects within your day based on your energy? And I would say definitely don't stack a long-term high demand, not high joy, back to back with multiple things that make you feel the same way, because you'll wear yourself out. Activity inventory, review to your calendar. You know, I am a big believer, daily, weekly, monthly, it's cumulative. And so if we just step back a little bit, we're seeing just a small slice, but if we pull back further, we see a better view. And if we go to the balcony, we see a very clear, comprehensive view. And I think sometimes that's nice for time management purposes and energy management. So the last slide, practice compassion, positive self-talk, give yourself grace. Sometimes all good plans don't always end the way we intend, even if we're doing the best job possible, because we just cannot control the uncontrollables. Things take longer than we think. And rather than being like, God, I should have been more efficient, or wow, I should have done this sooner, or into this self kind of defeating conversation, which lowers energy, does not certainly fill you up. It sucks you of time, because we often get into this rumination of thought. And that rumination of thought can bring us off of things that we could take that same time and energy and put it into, that would be practicing self-care, or doing something that would help us advance things forward. Energy inventory. How do you feel? Critical. I would not tackle a really stressful project if you don't feel good, unless you absolutely have to, because you're setting yourself up. And if you are in that space and it's possible to get a co-captain to kind of work with you, that does help to supersize energy, especially if your energy's low. And that person happens to like that type of project. So then you're aligning your energy with theirs, and together there is a sense of collaboration that elevates energy for both people in the equation. Limit multitasking, one task at a time. When we multitask, it's not possible. Number one, we just switch from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and we break flow, break flow, break flow, and it's not efficient. We aren't as accurate. Our speed is diminished. So, I know that we often have to be juggling a few things at one time, and that's okay. I just wouldn't make it a daily habit, and I would not assume that spinning multiple plates is going to make you more productive. It's just the opposite. But the reality is we have to do it sometimes, but just govern it, right? Just make sure you're not putting yourself in that situation all the time, because the brain gets really worn out. It just jerks it from one thing to the next, and it really creates lots of aggravation actually in the brain, and stress. Reflection and review: what works, what doesn't. That's a great way to kind of analyze, how did this week go? These are the techniques I tried, what worked, what didn't. Was it just circumstantial? Should I try it again? Or that's just not for me? Or, oh, this worked, man, I'm doing that again. And it's impossible to know what is working unless we pause and reflect. We might feel it in the moment, but we're not going to be intentional and going, I'm going to keep doing that, unless we really think about, that's worth doing again. So I'm going to pull that forward into my life as far as managing time. And it's an intentional decision. Plan for the unexpected. We can't control the uncontrollables. We just can't. Technology time out. Reclaim time and allocate it to an activity that gives you energy. We spend anywhere from 4 to 5 hours on our phones and interfacing with technology a day. And so if we're trying to get time back to put into our self-care, or to finish a project, or to just pause more frequently, to walk outside in nature, I mean, just putting that down alone is a great way to kind of reclaim and recharge. And it's like you almost want to check out to check in. And so unplug from technology so that you can plug into what you're feeling, and you can put yourself in an environment or situation that allows you to recharge your batteries. So I'm going to go back briefly. Actually, let me see what time it is. Okay, I am going to take us here, and then I'm gonna pull us out, because I really want us to unpack this for at least 10 minutes. If the group would do me a favor, this is time management recap. These are all the things that we just went over. Lightning fast, all important. Some will resonate, some you're already doing, so maybe it's a reminder to keep doing them. Some are new, and you're like, okay, that one doesn't feel like it will work for me, but that one does. So I would like for you to pick the one, and you can pick more than one for yourself for sure, but the one that most resonates for you, and why. Because I want us to have sort of a collective conversation around of all of these. Wow, that one is one that I need to do, and this is why I need to do it. Are y'all good with that? Yes. Barbara, I wanted to end with this because it just came in. Just say no.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, say yes to the things that feed your soul, give you energy, and bring you joy, and say no to the things that deplete you, especially the ones that you can say no to, and minimize, and at least sprinkle some joy in if you're having to do those things that just like wear you out. So yes to joy and no to stress.